Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about take your time. So I know you're probably thinking, what is making her do a video about taking your time? So today, as I was thinking about different things happening in my life, and I was thinking about me trying to take control of things and make things happen the way I want to make them happen, or, doing things my own way before I rededicated my life to God, and some of the choices that I've made in life. And I noticed that a lot of it stemmed from rushing. It stemmed from me wanting to hurry up and be a certain age, me wanting to hurry up and be in a relationship, me wanting to hurry up and be able to do all of these things that I could have just waited on. I could have took my time doing those things. And as I thought about calling this video that, I really had this thought in my head from one of the people that I know. They like to say, God took his time with that, you know? And so it's just one of those like inside joke things. And so you probably are like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. But listen, not everybody's gonna know that. So I'm gonna keep it clean. And when I say clean, I don't mean it in that way. I mean, I'm just gonna keep it strictly to whatever it is that we're talking about and not go off course and talk about something random that it's not relevant to this message. So so as I thought about taking my time, I thought about how every time in life when we try to plan things, when we try to get things to happen our way, they never work out that way. And if you're like me, you spent all of this time, like for me, when it came to school, at first I wanted to be a psychologist. I was like, I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm going to help all of these people because I love helping people and I love like overanalyzing and trying to come up with conclusions or solutions for things. And so I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me. This is the perfect career. Like when I was younger, if I had to think of like a dream career for something that could implement the things that I love to do and something that I'm passionate about, it would have been psychology because I could learn about all the theories. I could learn about all of these different things. Like over analyzing in psychology is like the same thing because but the only difference is I don't know if most psychologists deal with the same type of over analysis that I do. Like, do they over analyze everything as much as I do? And so for me, whenever I'm thinking about like different psychology theories, I'm thinking about different experiments and things like that. And I'm not talking about back in the day. I'm just talking about in general, like ways to theorize and come up with some sort of solution to help other people who are dealing with psychological issues or, other people who are just going through life that really need a listening ear or someone to just be able to guide them in life, to be able to help them with whatever it is that they're going through. And I don't mean like it's just like a quick fix, easy thing, but sometimes even being able to use sociology and have someone to talk to helps you more than you can even imagine. And so for me, like when I thought about that type of career when I first was about to go into college, when I first got out of high school, I was just like, I know I want to help people. I know I want to be a psychologist because I want to help people. And I went to school, and if you're doing the math, you don't know how old I am, so maybe that doesn't matter. But but if you're doing the math, you're like, hmm, oh, okay. But yes, so I started going to college and I took up psychology at first. And I really wanted to work and pay for it out of pocket. I wanted to pay for it on my own. And I didn't want to, like, I think I could afford like one or two classes every semester or something like that. So it was like not that many. And the curriculum was changing within the school. So some of the things that were a criteria weren't a criteria later. So I ended up going to school for like however often, however long, and then eventually the criteria changed, and so I would have ended up having to take. I think I needed like 12 more credits or something like that before I could get my associates in psychology. And so after like taking all this time, and I was like, okay, I love psychology classes. I'm passionate about it. I really love like the work that has been done in psychology. I really love like all the theories. I love the over analyzing of things. I love how the classes are set up. Like each instructor would do things a little different, but I loved how it would be interactive and how we would learn about different psychologists like Sigmund Freud and other people like that, other psychologists like that. And so it really just like made me, because I love thinking about stuff in that way. And so, so I was just like, ah, it's been such and such years, and I just don't want to be that person who's forever a student. I don't want to be that person who spends 8 years in school for psychology, and then you get the naysayers and people saying, well, you're not going to make money in this area, you're going to have to move. And I'm thinking, I like where I live and I just can't imagine moving. So I would move, like I would be working doing something that I love, but I would never get to see anybody who I like being around. So I was just like, why? Like it didn't seem like it was worth it at the time. So so about, I want to say, by the time I hit like 6 years, like at this point, I just decided I'd do general studies and I just kept it at that. And then I switched to another college and I started going to school for business instead of psychology because it just seemed like it just seemed like the natural thing to do. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to school for business. Business is only 4 years, not 8 years. It just seemed like it would just be easier. It would be something that I could just do. And so, of course, I went to school for business. I got a degree, associate's degree in business administration with a minor in environmental science. And for people who don't know, environmental science is like the things that are going on within the world, like different rules, regulations, like country laws, things like that. So it's not science. It's more like, okay, this is why this is happening. It's kind of like some supply and demand stuff, but not a lot. It's like a general statement of supply and demand. And then most of it is just about what's going on in different parts of the country and why it's important, why this is this way in this country, stuff like that. And so so I learned about that and I got that degree. And by the time I got that degree and I started working at all of these like random jobs, like a lot of them were retail, and there's nothing wrong with retail if you're a retail person. I really tip my hat to all of the people who work retail. Like, I see you. I appreciate you like so much. I think every person, every human being should work retail at least once in their life and have it to the point where they have no choice but to be there and they cannot quit because it will give you a whole another level of appreciation for people and appreciation for good people because you will meet a lot of different types of people, and the good people definitely make your heart feel like warm. And the people who you work with, sometimes they're the people who really do help you. They really do like rally around you. And so I just think that that's one of those things that I think every person needs so that it can keep them humble, so they can really appreciate where God takes them in life. And so so I did a lot of those jobs, and as I was working these types of jobs, I was just like, oh, I just wish I could just get the job, a job where I could take care of myself. I could take care of my family. I can do all of these things that I really want to do. Like, yes, I'm working, I'm making money to pay the bills, but I don't have any money to do anything else. Like, there's nothing else that I can do besides pay bills and go to work. And I know that sounds like a complaint. And back then it was a complaint because that was before I really rededicated my life to God and everything. So most of the time. It was all about what I was lacking and not what I had in my life. And so instead of me being grateful for being able to work several jobs, I was complaining that, I mean, I didn't complain that I had to work, but I was complaining that I couldn't do certain things. I was complaining that I couldn't go certain places. I was complaining, I just was always feeling that lack of something, because that's how the enemy does it. And he probably knew back then that there was something that God placed on the inside of me and that I wouldn't always be there. But he wanted to try to keep me there as long as he could. And so so I spent all this time. I went to school, this 2 year degree dragged out into like 2 years or something, which then I switched and transferred and the curriculum changed and I was paying out of pocket. And then I go into this other college and I graduate in a year and a half because I learned that none of my credits transferred. I know. And most of you are probably saying, why didn't you just stay at the other college? Because they were saying that unless I did a full course load, which I couldn't because I had a child, because I had to work because I was living on my own, So for me, doing a full course load wasn't realistic for me at that time. I knew that wasn't sustainable. I knew that wasn't something that I could handle at that moment. And so for me, like doing maybe 2 to 3 classes was fine, but doing a full course load just wasn't something that I could have handled at that time. And I knew, I just knew that that wasn't something that was sustainable for me. And so I switched over, and the way that the curriculum was set up, I could do online courses. I had an instructor. I had like think it's called not the dashboard, but whatever it's called, the board thing that you would go on, and you would go on there and you could talk to your instructor, talk to other people in your class, and then you have the classroom lectures and stuff like that, and then you do the assignments online or whatever else. So I started doing the assignments, and I finished this in a year and a half. But it's been like, by the time I went back to school, because I went out and I was just like, okay, I'll just go back. You know how you say that, like, I'm gonna go back at such and such time. And it really took some real world stuff going on for me to be like, I'm going back to college, because I was like, you know, I'll just go find a job doing blah or something. And so I realized that all of those jobs that I wanted needed a qualification. All of them needed something in order for me to even get my foot in the door, supposedly, back then. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to school because I don't want to keep doing this for the rest of my life. I want to do something else. I want to be in a position where I can take care of myself, where, and I was with someone, but I wasn't thinking about, I'm worried about them taking care of me. I was thinking about, I'm worried about what I can do for myself, because God forbid something happened to the other person. I need to be able to take care of myself. And so I wanted to make sure I was good regardless of what was happening with that person, with anything else in my life. And so so I decided, okay, I'm going back to school. And while I was in school, I'm doing all of this stuff I'm going through, and I look up I look up one day, and it has been 8 years since the day that I first graduated high school, and I decided I was going to start college, and I started taking those courses. 8 years. 8 years. Yes, you're hearing me right. So with the life happening, with everything else, I spent a good 2 years paying out of pocket, taking classes. I had my daughter during that time, so of course I didn't go to school when I had her. I think I didn't go back to school until she was, I want to say she was 3 or 4 when I went back to school. So I got pregnant, I had her, and she was like 3 or 4 when I decided to go back to school to complete my degree, my associate's degree. And so I really just, it's one of those things that you just look back at, and the moment that the 8 year mark hit, I kind of had this reality check. Like, I was worried about being in school for 8 years doing something I would have loved doing. And I gave up back then. I gave up. And I decided that it just wasn't worth it, that I wasn't going to complete it, that 8 years in school just seemed so ridiculous. Like, all those years, how am I going to pay for it? I'm just thinking of all of these things, like all of these reasons why I could not do it. And the whole time, I pretty much was in school off and on for 8 years anyways. I could have just went to school for something that I loved, but because I didn't take my time, because I wanted to rush through life thinking that I had to get all of these things done early. I had to have a kid. I had to be in a relationship. I had to, hurry up and finish school. And I was the only person rushing myself. I literally could have taken my time and would have still been able to do all of the things that I planned on doing. I was the only person standing in my way. Sometimes, sometimes in life, we really are our biggest enemy. We're the ones holding ourselves back. We're the ones telling ourselves that things are unrealistic or cannot happen, or that we can't do things in life. But the moment we believe in ourselves, everything changes. I so I'm gonna tell you. So the class that I've been taking is a swimming class. I know you probably are like, didn't you say swimming that one day? Yes, I did. And so so the class that I've been taking is a swimming class. And if you grew up like me, you really weren't swimming like that. Like like, you hear the horror stories, heard stories, like if you got, grandparents, parents like mine, it's just swimming was like something that we did. Like you would go to the swimming pool, play, you might do Marco Polo, you might do stuff like that, but it wasn't like I'm going to the pool because I'm a real swimmer. You know what I'm saying? And so I just I don't want to say I never got the hang of it. I had an incident that happened when I was really young. And so we were playing Marco Polo, of course. And I was walking through the pool and, we were doing Marco Polo, and I slipped on the tile into the deep end. Did not know how to swim at all. I'm over there like literally about to sink to the bottom of the pool. I can't get up. I can't do anything. I'm literally feeling like this water going into my mouth, and I just the worst feeling ever. And while I'm down there, I'm like, I keep on trying to like, cause I don't know how to swim, but I'm like doing stuff, trying to do something to get up. And I'm going like this, and every time I get almost to the top, I'm sinking. Every time I get almost to the top, I'm sinking. I'm almost giving up on myself in the pool. If I had fought a little bit harder, maybe I could have been at the top. But I was just like, oh no, I can't do this. Ugh, no, I gotta try. I can't do this. And I get down to this point where I just feel like I don't know what to do. Like in the moment, I'm having this moment in my head. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I hear God. Didn't know this was God at this time. I just thought that, I don't know, like intuition. I don't know what it was. But I hear God saying, just kick. Like I just randomly knew how to swim out of nowhere. Randomly. Like God just, I just, all the arm movements, I'm kicking my feet and everything. And I don't know how. This is how I know it's God, because it doesn't even make any sense how I survived this, for real. Like, there was not one person who came over to help me. The people playing Marco Polo with me thought that I was just playing, that I knew how to swim, that I just, was over there, and they really had no idea that this was going on. The lifeguard is sitting there, they're looking around the pool, but because I was underneath, they couldn't see me. They couldn't see that I was under, they couldn't see that I was in trouble, anything. And so I hear God saying, kick, just keep kicking. And I'm kicking, and my arms are doing this. I don't even know where I got this from, but my arms are doing this, and I'm kicking. And I don't think I was swimming like a professional swimming, but I swam good enough to make it back over to the part where I could stand up, and I could, like, I swam far enough to where I could grab onto the side of the wall and pull myself up, and I could stand over, like back with the part that wasn't the deep end anymore. And while I'm over there, I'm coughing. Like, I'm literally coughing, spitting like water out and stuff. Like, it's the worst thing ever. And I don't know if you ever had like choked on something or whatever, like you swallow some spit and you choke on it or whatever. This was worse than that. It was like a bunch of it. And I could just feel like the water that I had in my mouth that was filling up, just coming out. And I know I'm not trying to give you like a disturbing image or anything like that, but I could feel that happening, and it was the worst feeling ever. And I just I don't know. It had to be God, because I don't know how else I could have made it out. There's nobody that was going to save me. By the time they realized that I actually needed help, or someone would have actually known that I was there and that I wasn't kidding or anything like that, it literally would have been too late. I don't know how I held my breath that long. I didn't catch any breath when I was up on top of the water. I don't know how I made it over. Like, I don't even know how I knew what direction to swim. I literally heard God say, just kick. Just keep kicking. Just keep kicking. Just keep kicking. just keep kicking. And I kept kicking until I made it over. But I didn't know where I was going. I had no idea. I couldn't really see anything, you know. And when I made it over to the side, I grabbed a hold of the wall and I held up, I held myself up and I just kept coughing and coughing and coughing. I sat on the side of the pool and I sat there. I never told anybody. Like I told my friend at the time that had the pool party, like, hey, no, I really was, I really did need help. I didn't know, how to swim. And she was like, I thought you knew how to swim. I thought you were just kidding. Like she felt so bad. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I almost died. Like I really almost died for real, like no joke. And so ever since then, I would go to the pool and stuff, but I would never go into the deep end. Like I always played in like the you could stand up in it kind of level anyways, but I would never go into anything deeper than, at my height because I would just be like, okay, whatever. It's fine. And every time we go like on a family vacation or something else, we go to the pool, I would do like little things like I learned how to glide. So I did take some sort of swimming class, I think after that, and I learned how to glide. And gliding is when you put your hands like this and you just put your face in the water and you just swim. And so you kick your feet. And so I knew how to do that. That's all I could. That was like my one thing that I knew how to do. So I could swim from one end to the other or whatever. But I couldn't go under. Like no matter how hard I tried, I could not go under the water. And I would do this, but it would just be a little while. It would be like a little, like me doing little stuff here and there. It wasn't like a lot of stuff in the pool. And so as as I became single, I know this is gonna sound so strange, and people are gonna say, "Why you wait till you got single to start doing this?" Listen, this is my story. This is what happened. And so when I became single, I was like, I don't want to be afraid of anything anymore. And when you have faith in God, in the Bible, fear is not really something that's good. Because if you have faith in God, you shouldn't be afraid of anything because it's going to happen the way God intended it to. So there's nothing that could take you out that God didn't set forth for it to be that's your life story. God is always going to protect you and always see you through. Like, because it's written the way it's supposed to be written. It's not like, you know, you're going to be in a situation and you have anything to worry about or fear. Because God's got this. And I'm not saying put yourself in a dangerous situation saying, oh, God's just going to work it out. No, you're just doing too much right now. Like, relax. I'm talking about when it comes to things like things that are stopping you. Like for me, I couldn't, go and do like the swim team. I probably couldn't do like if me and my friends was doing something, none of my birthday parties or any of the parties that I ever would want to have would ever be a pool party. I could never like when I'm going on vacation or somewhere else, I couldn't comfortably be out doing anything because the only thing I could do is this. And when I was around other people or whatever else, I would hold onto the wall and I would only be like in the end where I could go. And last vacation I did a bunch of things that I was kind of afraid of. Like we had this water that was over me and I didn't like stand up in it. I did stand up in it. I stood up in it and it was over my head. And I was like, okay, that's enough. And I went over to the side. But I really just on that vacation I did a lot of things that I was afraid to do because I wanted to face my fears. I was around this animal that I just, oof, being around that thing is like huge. And so I was just kind of like, okay, I didn't feel comfortable. I kind of felt it in me like, oh my gosh. But I was like, no, you have to face your fear. You have to face this. It cannot stop you. And then I did the thing with standing in the water that was deeper than me. And then I went out into the ocean. I know it sounds so crazy, but I actually went jet skiing out into the ocean with my family. And, like I said, I never wanted to be around water like that or anything. And then, I could do like the one thing, but I wasn't like a swimmer. So, but the thing about this ocean is this ocean that we went to was only like this high. So regardless of what happened, even if I like flew off the jet ski or something else, I would have landed in the water, but I would have been able to stand up. Like if I fell, I would just fall splash. And then, if I went down, I could just literally stand up and I would be fine. Like it wouldn't be like a good feeling to fly off of the jet ski, but I knew that even though I was afraid, I would just have to keep myself calm and I would be fine. And so I did stuff like that. And I really wanted to face my fears. And it's something about being single. It's like everything that I thought I was afraid of or I thought I could never do, I want to do while I'm single. And I know it sounds so weird. Like I took a few different classes. I took like a self-defense kind of thing, like this class where it has to do with I don't know if I could say this on here, but it has to do with weapons. And so I learned like some different skills there. And then I did like this dance class where, cause I have a little bit of rhythm, but I'm not like you see me and you just assume I know how to dance really well. Like I can catch a beat, but I'm not like a beat person, like I can do a little two step, I could do a couple moves, one of these, but I'm not one of those like pop locking. I don't have like fancy feet work or anything like that. Like I'm not that type of person. And so so I took this dance class and I learned like some dance techniques and stuff that were so interesting. It was the coolest thing ever. I learned how to do this thing from the ceiling. Like it was the coolest thing ever. Like I've never done something like that. And then I know you're like all of these extreme things that you're doing, but listen, while I'm single, I'm trying to make the most of this single season. Like I know you hear me say it and you think I'm just trying to gas up being single, but no, seriously, like I'm not, this is just this past relationship, and I don't know what healthy relationships look like. But when I was in a relationship, it kind of became all about the person. It wasn't really about what I wanted. And I would want to do stuff, and it was like falling on deaf ears. It's like no matter what I wanted to do, I couldn't do any of those things. And so it would always become like a big thing, and it would be like, why would you want to do that, kind of thing. And so every time I would feel so guilty, I would just never do any of the things that I really wanted to do. And so I just kind of lived this life of just doing the same old, just like the cycle of, you know, the same thing. And so, and nothing's wrong with, having something that's like set if that works for you and things like that. But I just love learning new things and doing new things. I don't like just only doing one thing. I want to be outside my comfort zone. Even when before, I really knew that was a thing. I just like learning new stuff. I don't ever want to be stagnant and just be a good professional, a big professional, or, have a plethora of knowledge in one area. I want to be well rounded. I want to have information, a little bit of information about everything. I want to know enough about everything so that I could feel like I could be, if I went to a ballroom, I could fit in there. If I went to, this other place, I could fit in there. If I went to this place, I could have a conversation with every person. If I, no matter what's going on in my life, I want to make sure that, so like if I do a business deal and I'm having a conversation with this person likes boats. If I know nothing about boats, I can't even talk to the person about it. I can't say like the different types of boats. I can't talk about, the way a boat is, how you steer a boat. I can't say anything about it at all. And so that person, I might lose that person as someone that I do business with because I'm not talking to the things that they admire, the things that interest them. And so for me, it's like I'm looking at it from that angle. And then not only that, but when I meet different people who I'm becoming friends with, whatever else, it's like, okay, I don't want to just only know about this one thing, only talk about blah. I want to talk about things that are interesting, things that we could actually converse about that will have us like going in the right direction. So while I'm single, I definitely want to do the things that scare me a little, things that I might have been afraid to do before, things that didn't seem like something that I would normally do, but I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to learn. And so with this class, I've just been learning like a few different techniques like treading water, which I think is so important for every person to learn. Because if you ever are on a boat and you fall off, or you are ever like you're doing whatever and you just need a second to just your arms, or you just need a second and you want to tread water before you get to whatever it is, before someone gets to you or whatever, like before they throw a life raft out, or before they throw, whatever it is that they throw out, or a person comes to swim to you or whatever. Like, I think it's just so important to just learn how to tread water so you could be where you are for however long, and definitely continuously do it so that way your muscles and your body gets used to it, so you don't tire easily as well. And if you do get tired, they say you can back float and just wait until you get more energy and then swim again or whatever. But I really I really just definitely, like, if I had any advice for single people, it would be do the things safely that you are afraid to do. The things that scare you, face your fears head on in a controlled, safe environment. Don't just go off doing crazy stuff and then be like, I don't know how this happened. Listen, we know how it happened because you weren't being safe and you just decided, I'm going to go do this my way. Listen, there are procedures in place for different things for a reason. I am learning how to swim in a controlled environment. I'm not just out in the middle of an ocean somewhere trying to teach myself how to swim with nobody, with no swimming buddy. I'm in a place that literally these people are trained to show you techniques, to show you how to do everything that you need to do while you're in the water. And I want to learn these things because I don't want that to be something that I'm afraid of. I want to face this head on, and this is a little selfish, but I'm just being 100% transparent right now. And if I meet the person that I'm supposed to be with and they're like, hey, let's go on this trip to such and such. And let's say we're going this place and only thing I could do is this. I'm not going to put my eyes in salt water. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might, but you know how much that is going to sting? I probably could keep my eyes open in salt water. I don't know how much it stings, but I know there's more salt in some water in different areas of the country. And so and then there's the sand and all the other, like, hopefully I have goggles if I am doing that, if my head is in and I'm not swimming on top of the water. I don't know I don't know what the protocol is for that, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to end up being with somebody who loves to swim, and then I gotta be like, oh no, let me just put my feet in the water and sit on the side while you get to have all the fun because I never faced this fear. And I'm not doing this for another person. I'm doing this for me first, but that's also something that I thought about, like, as I was taking this class. I'm like, I'm doing this for myself because I want to be better for myself. And because I'm better for myself, when I meet the person, they will get the best part of me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I just, I really want to continuously grow and learn as much as I can to do these things that I get to do. And my class is on Saturday. So this is like, I get to do this and I don't have to worry about, oh, I got to meet up with somebody on Saturday at such and such time, or, this is date night or whatever else right now. Right now, I could just, on Saturdays, if this is what I want to do, I can do it. And so I think that's pretty cool. And so, really, when you're single, just try to do as many things as you can. And like I said, I don't know if in a healthy relationship you get to do all of these things. I would hope that I wouldn't let a person deter me from doing the things that I really would love to do, the things that would bring me joy. I would hope that I could still be happy and joyous and feel the peace that God allowed me to feel in the single season when I'm with someone, and that they really truly do honor and respect me, and I honor and respect them as well. Like, I don't just want them to treat me the way that God intended for me to be treated, and then I treat them like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, I want to be humble, and I want to make sure that they know that they're appreciated, and that, like, everything they do, I want them to really know that they're that guy. Like, I don't want them to feel like, oh, I'm so lucky to, like, I want them to feel like, oh yeah, I'm lucky to be with her, but I want them to feel like, oh, I'm her slave. Like, it's all about her all day long. I want it to be about both of us. And I want to feel like, I want that person to feel like they are extremely appreciated. Like, not just like, oh yeah, you're just one of several other guys that I've been with in my life. Like, I don't want to have that type of attitude. I want them to know that, hey, like, there's something special about you. It's not just that you're like every other person that I've ever encountered in my life. And when I say encountered, I don't mean it in like that type of way. I mean like having a conversation or being in a relationship with a person or something like that. Not nothing deep at all. That just was like a regular surface level statement. It really wasn't anything else to it. And so I did write earlier. I had a moment. So today when I woke up, I was like, okay, I'm focused on God. I had my alarm clock set for 5 a.m. because every morning at 5, I promised God I would be with him while I'm doing Lent. And I don't know if that's something I could share, but hopefully God doesn't mind that I shared that. But I'm doing it not because I want something out of it, but because I want to be in his presence before anything jumps off during the day. I want God to know that I'm intentionally seeking him first above everything else. That before my phone goes off, before somebody calls, before anything happens, before a person pops up in my DMs or, I see someone and, it's person distraction after distraction after distraction being sent my way. I want to make sure that God knows that he is the first person that I'm seeking and that I need his yes before anything jumps off. Like, there's a no way I want to date anybody that God's not giving me a yes on. You know, and I know that sounds extreme because you're probably like, okay, why would God give you a yes for any person that's not your husband? I don't know, but I definitely don't want to I mean, if God is saying, hey, you need to learn this lesson, you're going to be with this person, and this person is going to teach you so much about yourself that, after the relationship is over, you're going to have everything that you need to be married or to be with your husband. Something like that. I can understand. But so you never know if it's going to be a situation like that. I just want to make sure that God knows I'm focused on him first. That I'm not just like, oh, this person came along. Let me just go ahead and ignore, all of the things that I've been doing that have been helping me. I hope I really hope that the person I'm with isn't the type of person who's like, oh, you go to church every Sunday, oh, you're in Bible study. We could be watching this movie that just came out and it so happenedly plays at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. It's like, come on, really? Now they just doing too much. Why are you releasing the show at 7 p.m. 6 p.m. on Wednesdays when you know that's Bible study time? And if we gotta watch it that bad, we can record it and watch it at 7:30 when Bible study's over. Like, I need to be intentional with my relationship with God, and I hope that the person that I'm with is intentional with their relationship with God as well. And it's not just like I don't want to be the only person who's believing. I don't want to be the only person that's seeking God's guidance because I can't follow you if you're not leading me anywhere. I don't want to be stuck, stagnant in my life because you don't have a purpose on your life, because you don't have any vision, because you think that leading means you just control everything, or you think leading means that you just get your way all the time. Like, leading means that you are intentionally seeking God and you have a vision and a purpose on your life. The vision that you have for your life, the things that you really, really want to do, that you want to make happen, you know, and because you're seeking God, I know that I can trust you to just be about it. You know, like I don't have to worry about you just being like, oh no, I can't do it. Like, you'll be like real intentional, like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna seek God first, and I'm gonna keep being diligent. I'm gonna keep, doing the things that I need to do, and that will lead me to being able to just have your vision come true. You know, But yes, so earlier today, I was about to say this and then I got so sidetracked. But earlier today, I was really just, I had seek God first, got up, I slept all the hours that I needed to sleep. Thank you, Jesus, because I really had some time struggling before. And so I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I really felt good. This is the first time I really just laid in bed for 15 minutes. For real. I laid there and I kind of felt like I need to get up and do a bunch of stuff. And God was like, no rest. And I was like, yes, Lord. Thank you. And so I sat there. It felt so good. Oh my gosh, it felt so good. I was like, whew. Like, I don't want to do it every day, but doing that today was like amazing. And so, so I did that and I got up and I was getting ready to go somewhere because I had told my daughter I would take her somewhere today. So we ended up meeting another mom and her daughter there. And then one of my friends that I knew from back in the day or at the beginning of this season was there. And so his daughter was there as well. So it was pretty cool. And before I got ready to leave to go, I I got this DM, and no, not in that way, from one of my family members. And because they know like I'm into church and stuff like that, they sent me the song, this new gospel song that just came out by this artist I had never heard of. And the beat drops and it sounds like when you're at a cookout when you're younger, it sounded like one of those songs. It was so good. And she was praying about her relationship with God and where she came from and how her journeys led her to God and stuff like that. And it was so beautiful. It was amazing. And it's funny because sometimes you don't know where your blessing is going to come from. And so I wrote that. So I wrote that in this journal earlier. When it came to me, it was just like we really don't know where our blessing's going to come from. Any person can bless you no matter who they are. You could think it's only going to come from a preacher. You could think it's only going to come from somebody in your small group or somebody in Bible study or somebody at church or whatever else. Sometimes it can come from that person who is on the fence with, believing in God. They don't even know that they blessed you, and they did. God can use anybody to bless you. And sometimes we keep looking for it in different places, and that's not where your help is going to come from. I know where my help comes from. You know what I'm saying? But we really don't know how he's going to send a blessing our way. But most of the time, it does come from a person. So for me, for the person that I used to be, that's why I know I can't be invulnerable. I have to make sure that I'm allowing the right people in my life, that I'm allowing God to show me and give me the power of discernment so I can discern a person and a spirit, so that I can make sure that I'm allowing the right people in so that God can open doors in my life that he needs to, without me just feeling like I need to be so closed off. It's nothing wrong with guarding your heart, but don't be so closed off that you don't allow the right person to bless you, because you really don't know where your blessings are going to come from. So this has turned out to be longer than I thought, but but in conclusion, take your time. I know we don't know the minute, hour, year, when our last day is going to be, and we should really appreciate our lives. We should really appreciate the time that God has given us and everything else. I'm not saying that you should ever take anything for granted. And also do not rush. Don't rush the process. You want to rush to be married for what? You don't know how much of yourself you're going to have to give up being in that relationship. And I don't mean you don't get to self-love or think anything like that. But dividing your time between you and somebody else and just only having time for yourself is totally different. It's not like there's no, it doesn't change from 24/7 to 24/9, just because you met somebody. So understand that things will change. And that time that you are taking for granted now, thinking, oh, I can't wait till I get to, what about the things that you didn't do while you were single? What about the time that you didn't spend by yourself, working on yourself, building yourself up? What about the time that you didn't take taking those classes? What about the time that you didn't take enjoying just being in the silence with yourself? It's so funny because at the beginning of this journey, I was like, I don't want to be by myself. Like, I don't want to be, like, I didn't ever want to be with anybody ever again, but I really was feeling like, oh, because it was one of the days where my daughter wasn't here. and I was in the house. I was by myself. Nobody was here. It was just me, myself, and I. Like, I was the only person. I was the only person in the house, and I was just feeling like, oh man, this sucks. You know? That's just me being real. And I was like, oh, like, it's way too quiet in here. Like, I don't hear any doors. I don't hear any music. I don't hear any nothing. It's so quiet. Like, it's eerie. And so I was really feeling like, oh, I don't like being by myself. And I was listening to this person who talks about like self development and everything. And they said, if you can't be by yourself, you'll never be able to be with somebody. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And they were like, and if you can't be by yourself, that means you don't love yourself. I said, my business is first love yourself. I'm going to have to be okay being by myself. And so I got it together real quick. I was like, no, I don't know. Like, because in our mind, and like, I guess when we think about being by ourselves, we're thinking about lonely, all the lonely songs and everything else. But loneliness is real, but there's nothing wrong with being alone. There's nothing wrong with being all in one, because that's when you find the best parts of you. That's when you realize the things that you really love. Like, that's how I learned the things that I really like to do. The things that when I'm doing self-care, when I'm taking care of my body, when I'm taking care of my mind, when I'm reading or writing or whatever else it is that I'm doing, that's when I really learned these are the things that really feed my soul. These are the things that I really love about myself. These are the things that really make me feel special, that really make me feel like I respect and honor myself. You know, it was in a moment like that that I really got to get down to the root of those things. And I wouldn't have been able to do that with several people around. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I just kept relying on, talking to people all day long, or having somebody stop by the house, like a family member or friend or whatever else. Like, just having people, like, it would be like my family members would just be showing up every day, and I'd be like, yeah, come over tomorrow. And I'm like, listen, you got to get it together. You cannot just always have somebody around, because everybody's not always going to be around. But God is. God is always going to be there for you. And so I really needed to get into the fact that it was okay being by myself. That yes, I'm not no longer with that person. And yes, my daughter's not always here, but it's going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. God got me. Anything that God needs me to have, I have right here. And it really taught me a lot about myself. It taught me about how codependent I was becoming on everybody. And I laugh and I try to make it seem like it's really not that big of a deal, but it really is. Like, I would be calling most of my family members I would talk to on a daily basis. It was getting real bad. Like, I was like, and it's nothing wrong with talking to people and stuff, but I was a little reliant on it. And I was just like, okay, there's someone that's there. I really was like not trying to do the real work to really figure out what was going on with me. Like, yes, I think at this time I was starting to do therapy or something like that, but I wasn't really into it. And I was starting to do, like, I went to a therapy session by myself that was supposed to be a couple session when we first separated, or when we first, should I say separated? When we first broke up. That's what I should say, because we were technically not together, but together. I think you only use that term for other things, but you know what I mean. When we were first not together. And so I, because, so I hear a siren, I think. Part of me wants to be nosy. They're in the neighborhood. But yeah, so I really didn't want to face everything. I was like, oh yeah, I totally want to work on myself. And then you realize how hard it is. People see me now and they see like me glow, or like my face looks like it's glowing, or, I'm smiling and stuff almost every time they see me. And they're just like, what is it that you're doing? I'm focused on God. That's what it is. It's not me. Like, yes, I put forth work, but God, it's all God. The only reason my face is glowing like this is because I got reintroduced to God. God was like, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is G to the OD. Like he really, that's what it is for real. It's not like a guy that's making me glow like this. It's not a baby. It literally is God for real. And it's just something about having God in your life, being in his presence, that really makes you feel like unspeakable joy. It really does. And even when everything around you is falling apart, you really just feel this peace about your life. Like, no matter what anybody else does, nobody is ever going to be God but God. There's nothing any person can do to take anything away from me that's not supposed to be taken away, or give anything to me that's not going to benefit me. So when you kind of have that mindset, it's kind of like, I mean, what is it going to matter? Like, if I worry about it, it's just going to stress me out. It's going to make me overthink things. I'm going to do the most for no reason when I have no control over it. So what's the point of that? So once I took the time to really look within myself, I really went to therapy. I really dealt with all the childhood stuff. I really dealt with all the ex stuff. I really dealt with all the things in the past. And I really started learning why these things were making me like I was, why I was so codependent on other people, why I was becoming so like attached to the people in my family instead of just being okay being by myself, which is the part of the reason why I just felt like I was going to be single for the rest of my life, because I didn't see how you could heal from something like that, from a codependent or attachment style. I really thought that it was just going to be one of those things that I would always have, and that there's no way I would ever be in a position where I would not want to, or I would feel like I could be alone. And yet I can. It's possible. Like with God, all things are possible. In therapy, you can really break some generational trauma. With religion, you can really break generational curses. It really just takes one person to just step outside of what was written in history for the family. One person to just be more financially stable, one person to be more self-conscious, one person to just care more about loving themselves instead of settling for things that don't serve them, for them to change the trajectory of the entire generation to come, you know. And sometimes we really underestimate what God can do on the inside of us if we let him. The only thing stopping us is us. So if we're patient enough, God can give you everything that you could ever desire, as long as it benefits the kingdom. As long as, I'm not saying it's going to be some selfish, greedy thing that's going to destroy you. I'm saying something that really is going to help you, something that's really going to add joy to your life. God can literally do anything in you. You just have to be patient. You have to be willing to go through the process. You can't rush through it. I know it seems like I want it right now. I gotta have it right now. If you're like me with the school story, you really went all the way around the outside just to go back to the beginning. I literally spent 8 years doing something that wasn't even part of the plan, that wasn't even, it didn't help me, for me to rush through school thinking I was just going to take the shortcut and do the easy route. And then the whole time I could have just went and done the thing that I always wanted to do back then. And I say back then because sometimes your life changes, and the things with your purpose and how your purpose is going to be used isn't the way that you think it's going to be used. That's a whole nother story. But but seriously, we do all of that thinking that it's going to get us further ahead, and it really pushes us further back. So take your time in life. Don't just be lazy and not do anything. Don't just expect, things to just fall into your lap. You really have to be intentional because faith without works is dead. You really have to stay focused on God and be patient. I know it seems like you really want to be in that relationship right away. You really want to be in this position right away. But while you're training, while you are learning things, while you're not in the next position, those things can help you be a better employee. Those things can help you be better if you're starting your own business or a relationship. Those things, like for me, for swimming, that could be something that is something that both of us love to do now. That could be the thing that I didn't even know was going to be a thing in the future, but now it is because I decided to face my fears, because I allowed my focus to be on God and I believed in myself. Just things like that. You don't even understand why God is telling you to wait, and it's benefiting you in the long run. So just be patient and wait on God.